Welcome back to Quran 101. This is part 3, How the Quran Got to Us, episode 3. This will be the last episode of this third part. So, we talked about how the Quran was compiled. We talked about how the Quran has been divided over the years to facilitate the reading. We talked a little bit about Arabic calligraphy. I admit I'm not a foremost expert on Islamic art or Arabic calligraphy, so I don't want to delve into that. But writing the script is a very important part of the story of the Quran. Now, today we're going to talk about how we got this. How do we have the printed Mus'haf? How did this come to us? In sort of the middle part of the Ottoman Empire, there emerged this, and the Ottomans, by the way, are masters of the Arabic calligraphy, masters of the written word. There emerged this tradition called Dar Kinar, which is to write on one page of the Mus'haf 15 lines such that the page begins with a verse and ends with a verse. So every page of the Quran, it will begin with a verse and end with a verse. Not all printed Qurans are like that. Some older Qurans printed will have a break. So you're reading the verse on the bottom of the page and then you have to flip the page to go to the top to continue the verse. This methodology was different. This methodology, which most likely came from Ottoman calligraphers, was to make sure that each page began with a verse, ended with a verse, 15 lines, and the 15 lines comes from a hadith that is narrated in al-Bayhaqi, that the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, whoever memorizes or reviews the Quran 5 by 5 will not forget it. So 5 times 3 is 15, so there are 15 lines to comply with that hadith. And in that scheme, more or less, each juz is about 20 pages. Not exactly, but each juz is more or less around 20 pages. So I want to show you the printed Mus'haf so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see how each page begins with a verse and ends with a verse, so there are no broken verses. And then if you count these lines, you will see that there are 15 lines to a page. This has become, and the reason I chose this Mus'haf is that this is the Mus'haf that's printed by the Medina press, the Medina Quranic press in Saudi Arabia, which is essentially, for lack of a better word, the standard Quran that we all gravitate to in every mosque you go to, in every center. Of course, when you go to Hajj or Umrah, you have that Quran. And it encapsulates this philosophy of the 15 lines, beginning with a verse, ending with a verse. However, all of these masahif that are printed, they have to have committees of ulama that review the masahif. And in the back of each mushaf, usually in the back, sometimes in the front, but usually in the back, you'll find a list of all of those senior ulama, senior Quran experts, usually from around the Muslim world, who spent so much time trying to make sure that every single letter is correctly written according to the Ottomanic script, that the diacritical marks are correct, that there's no errors, that there's no discrepancy. It takes a lot of effort, and these Qur'ans are reviewed over and over. Even though they're printed in the modern technology, the committees of the ulama that review these masahif, their work still goes on. Now, that's sort of how we got to the printing press. There's more to the story. Some of the ulama thought it was haram to print it in the past, and there was a debate about that. I didn't feel it was necessary to get into those tangents. The last thing I want to say is just a small word on translations, because obviously these videos are in English. I'm assuming that most people that are watching them, their predominant language is English, or they feel most comfortable in that. There are many, many English translations of the Quran. I do not like to recommend any translation over another, because each translation tries to capture one meaning of multiple meanings of each verse. But what I like to do is I like to share the following resource. It's called al-tafsir.com, altafsir.com, al-tafsir.com. It's a Quran dedicated website that is run by many ulama in Jordan, people that I know personally and that I've worked with in the past. I've worked with them on other projects, not this specific one. And the Quran is there online. All major tafsir in as many languages as they can get are also online, Arabic and non-Arabic languages. And you can simply, through the search function, rotate. You can, like, let's say you choose verse 65 in Surah Al-Baqarah. You can literally rotate each single translation that's available in English to see the different types of translations and sides of translations of each verse. That is the website that I recommend that people use and go to. It's reliable, it's very hefty, there's a lot of information there, but it's also easy to use. And it's what I use, it's my go-to when I want to look up a translation of a verse. altafsir.com. This will conclude this part, as I said. Inshallah, we have one more part to discuss, which is how we do tafsir of the Quran. So be on the lookout for that episode tomorrow, inshallah. Take care.